Hey everyone, and welcome to Boomerankz special edition on the Snyder Cut of Justice League. Just released on Thursday at midnight, and we're going to break it down for you and give you our thoughts. And who wants to start? Who's ready?
I'll go. I mean, I'm the Snyder hater here, so...
You're the Snyder.
I'm the Snyder.
Snyder hater?
Yeah. I guess it's not... Is it Schneider or Snyder? It's Snyder, right?
Snyder.
Yeah, for me, what can I say? I went into this, it's a 4-hour cut. I was, in many ways, expecting the worst, but I was pretty shocked how much I enjoyed this movie. It is such a big fucking improvement. It is, it's massively better than the theatrical cut. So.
Yeah, it was, evident, 30 seconds into it. It was already far more interesting and riveting. The Superman death yells.
Yeah, right.
That was great. What a great idea. And it takes you around the world and sets a whole bunch of things up.
Yeah. With
this shattering kind of sadness to it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the death of Superman actually feels like something in this movie, and it feels like it has consequences.
Yeah, and there's something, maybe you guys can help clear this up for me if I'm remembering correctly. I wrote this down in some notes, but so he has his death yell that goes around the world. Does his death yell activate the mother cubes?
Feels like that.
I think so.
That's pretty much what we're left to infer, right?
The cubes are silent because Earth is too well protected with him there.
Mm.
Oh,
the cubes are sentient, and they're with the death of Superman, it signals the vulnerability of Earth.
Right. See, all the cubes are just way more fucking interesting in this. I mean, at the end of the day, they're an empty MacGuffin.
Yeah.
But it feels much more like this. Yeah, I mean, it's too bad this wasn't the movie that hit the theater. I mean, again, they still need to hack a good hour and a half out of the movie, which I think is possible.
Yeah.
The movie's still too long, still too indulgent in spots. But I was shocked. In the movies, a lot of the things that I dislike about Snyder movies was largely gone here. It had a more humanistic feel to it. The characters felt more kind of down to earth. It's not just sitting through this kind of empty procession with power and death and darkness. It felt like a movie. I think this might be his best movie.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I mean, he'd made Watchmen.
Yeah, I don't like Watchmen, so.
Screw you!
We gotta remember who's talking here. Big thing for him to say.
I would sort of agree with you, except that for a 4-hour cut, the 2-hour cut was completely forgettable.
Yeah.
I went into this and I'm seeing things that seem familiar, and I know I'd seen these scenes before, but they only seemed familiar, which is unforgivable for a movie for that 2-hour cut to have been so forgettable. But 4-hour cut, these bad guys were so two-dimensional. I'm gonna bring darkness to the universe. That's their whole goal is to bring death and darkness, and for no reason at all except they're evil. And it's for 4 hours to sustain that, it's too much. We needed to see inside these bad guys a little bit more, but we never did.
Especially because the Steppenwolf scenes where he comes and takes the cubes are just so repetitive. Basically the same thing happens every place he goes to.
They are, and he's a great character.
Even twice, the person in charge tells a soldier, oh no, go ahead and check out the cube, and they're like,
yeah.
That happens twice in the movie. The scenes are exactly the same. So it's good that there's more fleshing out of the bad guy and the motivations, and having Darkseid there, and setting up Steppenwolf as a lower tier dude who's scared of him.
I liked all that, but everybody was very one tone. Everyone's just I am the worst of the worst. I'm a little worse than the worst of the worst. Steppenwolf had a great death scene. I really liked his death scene. Way he rolled his body parts rolled through, and then the baddie stepped on his head and crushed his skull. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was good. And I think it's a question of degree. I mean, to be complaining about the shallowness of the villains when compared to the Whedon cut.
Yeah.
Whedon cut, he just shows up, takes a box. That's
Right.
it. Takes a box, has bites. That's it. That's absolutely it. You're just like, what is this guy? And he looked like shit too. Then this one, he looks awesome, and you see like there's some depth to the character. He's got a past with Darkseid. He betrayed Darkseid and all that stuff, and he's kind of cowering before Darkseid, so it builds intrigue for Darkseid. And yeah, you're right. It's a little bit of like just bad for badness sake potentially, but at the same time, like their goal is conquest. You know, certainly don't need to ask what motivated the Romans all the time. They just fought and took over everything that they possibly could. It wasn't evil for them. They wanted trade routes.
No.
And there's that anti-life equation. That's kind of my MacGuffin. Like, what is it? What's that?
Right.
We're on the boxes. What's the anti-life equation?
There's no underlying reason. The Romans had underlying reasons behind everything they did. The Romans had a philosophy, but these guys have nothing but, I want to kill everything, you know? It's
right, but if you were in Tuscany and getting invaded by the Romans, you didn't go like, well, they have underlying philosophies, so you're like, they're fucking evil.
Yeah, but that's a one-sided point of view, and we're watching a movie where they have the ability to show us all the points of view.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, I agree with you. So I mean, like, you know, the ideal here is a Thanos or a Kingpin from Daredevil, where you really get to know and understand the underlying motivations and some humanity. It's question of degree, you know, just that they made sense at all, even if it's just pure evil. Just that they made some kind of fucking sense in this movie was such a step up.
I will say, like they feel like they're more interesting, better fleshed out. The character looks better, which goes a long way towards helping the character because he looks so shitty in the cinematic version.
Yeah,
you can't take him seriously. But at the end of the day, like the villains are pretty generic, but it's still much better in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, the one dude actually looked almost like Thanos in a lot of ways.
It's Thanosian, but then like the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, this is, you know, it's such a weak like Marvel ripoff. But this came out the year before Infinity War.
Yeah, but
this was all shot before Infinity War.
Yeah, but Darkseid was made by Jack Kirby, so that's why they look the same.
Yeah, with that big chin that he loves.
Yeah,
but having said that, every time that now I feel bad for every time I was like, oh my god, this is just a weaker Infinity War, but like Infinity War was after this, so at least I can't throw that at Snyder. It's just done a little bit looser and a little bit didn't have the fine detailed depth that Infinity War had for the baddies, but still
throw it at Snyder. I mean, if you want to throw it at DC, you know, or just the comic book's fine, but I mean it's not like he created a whole new character and modeled them around Thanos, right?
Well, yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was unfair of me to think that, just because I'm like retroactive looking at it. It's like when you're like watching John Carter and you're like, oh, it's just a Star Wars ripoff, but like Star Wars was a John Carter ripoff.
Yeah.
So it's just you're watching it out of order. So now watching this out of order, sometimes I was like, oh, it's too close to Thanos, but. That's a double sad that this version didn't get released, because then he would have been first at bat and everybody would have been like, boy, this Infinity War sure is a lot like Justice League. So yeah, you know, I mean, like what a big difference it makes when you at least get a little bit of flesh hanging off the villains. That was probably my single biggest problem with Whedon's cut, was just like, who the fuck is this guy? I do not give the slightest shit about him and what he's doing.
The Whedon cut didn't really give a shit about pretty much most of the
anything. Yeah. It's like, oh, Superman's dead, I guess, whatever. Oh, he's alive, okay.
No, the Whedon cut really cared about the Flash.
Yeah.
Right. And this This one cared about the Flash a little too much as well.
Well, he's just a little too much.
A lot less. I'm really like I think they cut him down to a good size. And wow, like Cyborg, holy shit! It's practically.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
There's someone you can sell toys with. He's actually interesting and compelling, and
yeah. He's still a little flat for me a lot of the times. Like I'm just like, it's like, dude, how do you feel about this? You know?
Yeah, he's so fucking emo.
Well, he's just so. Yeah. So I think like they fleshed out his story. Like, so I bet you a lot of the reshoots are him. Then it's kind of tacked on because I feel like Snyder's attitude has changed since he made those two movies. Since three since he made his trilogy. But I feel like his attitude has changed a bit. Like he just doesn't seem is not all brooding now. Like he actually seems more interested in the characters and just kind of like maybe slightly more traditional movie pacing, which I think is really welcome. Like,
well, 3 years of listening to people yell at you for not doing enough good character development shit, you know, it's got to dig in at some point.
Yeah, they either listened or his.
Yeah. Just getting older.
Yeah, I know he's been on a journey and rediscovering making movies on an iPhone, and now he's got the Day of the Dead coming out and shit. So yeah, I mean, I am like the biggest Zack Snyder skeptic, and I was really, really impressed with this. Like,
so give us a score there, Raputznik.
6.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like original Justice League would be like a 1. Again, like I don't really like. This is a good experience. It's much better, but I'm probably never going to watch it again. Like it's just
right.
At the end of the day,
cool.
At the end of the day, it's a really long, generic comic book movie.
All right, so claim staked.
No, you're right. I agree with you. Right, like 30 seconds in, you already knew this was going to be a much better movie. I mean, especially the first hour and a half, I'd say it. I mean, it definitely had shades of 300, shades of The Watchmen. Now there was just the full-on Snyder. Like he did everything he's, kind of uniquely famous for doing, directing-wise, and it was a sheer pleasure for me because I actually like him as a director to see him, bring his vision of that movie to the stage, so to speak, right? And yeah, I mean, I agree. Well, I guess it'd be the 5th and 6th act when the action started taking off a bit. It, was still probably a bit too frenetic, almost like a Michael Bay Transformers movie at times. Like, it just hard to follow anything. Plus, it was dark. I mean,
wow.
I always agree with this. When they get into any movie, there's a lot of movies that do that. Like, it's almost like they know the CGI isn't quite there yet, so they intentionally make the movie dark so you can't.
I think Snyder especially, he just likes darkness.
Well, he loves that palette. Woo! But also, I bet the CGI guys are like, we can do it in 10 weeks, but if you make it darker, we can do it in 8 weeks.
So a little bit of a letdown there, but I mean, I thought, story-wise and dialogue and characters throughout start to finish, just I don't know if I want to say masterpiece, but I mean masterpiece compared to the Whedon cut for sure.
Oh yeah,
sure, and beats
and it didn't
any
feel long.
DC movie.
That was a fully enjoyable. We sat down and watched it. I mean, it took us maybe 4 hours and 3/4, just with snack breaks and washroom breaks and stuff. But I mean, we pretty much slogged through it, and it didn't. I was immersed from start to finish. Yeah, I've always been a fan. I mean, you guys all know that. I don't think there's anything that he's done that's, disappointed me. I think I've pretty much loved everything that he's done to some degree or another. Especially the opening Flash. I was even thinking of you, Raputznik, because you hadn't watched it, I don't think, before I saw that. How perfect was that, doing that shot over Song to the Siren? I mean, that was just, I don't know, I just about my mind there.
Which one? Which part?
The whole scene when Flash saved the girl there from the car accident.
I can't remember this scene for some reason.
He's applying for the job, and then
right at the start of it.
Finger pushes through the window and saves the girl that's going to be in the...
Huh, cool. You know what I think happened is I switched computers. Like, I was watching on Crave, and fucking Crave reset my place.
Oh God,
Every time
Crave is like
yeah.
12-year-old fucking coded
Yeah,
it.
I know. Yeah. But yeah, so I think I might have missed a little bit.
Oh yeah. So yeah, very.
That might be the best scene in the whole movie.
Oh shit!
Yep.
It's the hot dog.
Okay,
Yep.
Yeah.
I texted Holland during that, and I texted Holland during that scene and said, "Instant. I don't care what happens the rest of the week."
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
You can see why Tristram is like sacred soul mate with Snyder.
Yeah, the soundtrack throughout the whole movie was incredible. I thought was everything.
Soundtrack was good. It had some moments. What I didn't like the soundtrack is literally every time Wonder Woman showed up, they used the same vocal sample.
Yeah. Yes. Where I got a note on it. Where is it? It's like I literally for the third time thought that Wonder Woman herself was singing.
Yes, because she enters every scene she enters, she's like
Yeah, and then and I thought it was and I'm like, fuck, why? Oh,
yeah.
That shit. I mean, like, you gotta have your themes for people, but you just could have mixed that a little bit different. It would have been obvious it wasn't her, but it's so loud, the vocal. I was like, oh, she's singing.
Yeah, she's singing. It's like, oh. I mean, why not? Why not?
But yeah, soundtrack was good. It was really good. That's Junkie XL. Yeah. I thought music was good. I thought a couple of the Snyder song moments were a bit much.
Yeah, a couple of montages
like
too many.
slow-mo, Lois Lane drinking cappuccino. A little weird.
Snyder, though, like, I mean, I understand from an aesthetic point of view. If you don't like his directing style, well, then that's fine. That's just personal take, right? But I mean, that's, unlike me, who actually does like that style, I have a problem with it. Like,
yeah, well, there you go.
Also, but some viewers like myself, some of these sequences put the brakes on the movie. You're just kind of like, okay, cool. This is like
it's a quantity thing. It's like I like the style of any of those things. I mean, like I texted you, Tristram. I think Snyder must have just fucking loved Miami Vice. And I did too, and everybody fucking loves Miami Vice, and music to scenes and laying it on heavy that way is really cool. But Miami Vice did it twice per episode. If you do it 8 times in a movie, it doesn't matter how much you like it. It's probably getting excessive, and that's what I'm saying. Is it maybe perhaps a bit much, or like that scene, the lowest scene I thought was just kind of like didn't really need it. But that's just my opinion. It's not shitting on Zack Snyder. Yeah. So anything else there, Tristram?
Not really. I mean, I really enjoyed it. It's next to the Nolan stuff, easily the best DC movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really leapt up the charts.
I'd even put it ahead of probably, sure percentage, but quite a few of the Marvel movies too. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for rating for me, I'd probably give it a solid 8 to 9 in there for sure.
Yeah.
It wasn't really the story, character development, plot, pacing, cinematography, everything was pretty solid. Like I said, the only issue I really had was just some of the frenetic action scenes that just got a little bit too convoluted near the last third of the movie, but otherwise, yeah.
But even there, the whole transformerness of it all, each scene at least strung together, and I was following the general tide of the battle. Compared to the Whedon thing, where it's just they hit the orange world with the flying things, and it just the movie ended for me. I just had no fucking idea what was happening. Exactly how I felt in Transformers.
The most amazing thing, and Timber alluded to this as well, was watching this, I was hard pressed to discern, what parts of the movie I was even seeing that were a repeat of the Whedon cut. Everything felt new. It was weird. Like I said, 75% of it seemed completely new.
You're about right. I saw a breakdown that said something like 35 to 40 minutes of Snyder's footage is in the Whedon cut.
What?
Right.
That little?
Yeah, 40 minutes, something like that.
Oh, shit, what was I going to say?
You're going to say it's Timber's turn.
All right, so I like this movie. I'll give you the rating right away. All in all, it averaged out to about 7.5 for me,
Right?
which is pretty solid. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Like I said, the first half of the movie was fantastic, and then the second half it kind of started falling apart. I started seeing flaws. The stuff I mentioned with the Flash, always running faster and faster and forever. It's like, Jesus Christ, he runs forever, even though it's like that. Like the guy could go make a sandwich and come back and in a blink.
I love how it's like the Flash is the fastest thing on Earth. He's going to run at light speed, and Zack Snyder's still like, we're going to use the slow-mo.
Like Hollywood, it's just like, okay, we have the Bionic Man or a fast person. Then you keep watching slow motion all the fucking time. It's so annoying. Make him go fast.
Yeah.
All right, so as I was saying, I liked the superhero characters a little better than I like them in their own movies. Batman aside, obviously the Nolan stuff was amazing, but Aquaman, his movie was so terrible. It was like one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, shit.
It was like watching a 80s music video. And I mean, for God's sake, in Aquaman, at one point when you go into Atlantis, there's a giant octopus playing the bongo drums.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Come on.
Kudos to them for pulling it off and making $1 billion hit out of it.
Right.
And to Momoa, who's just, I mean, you know, he's always great. He's always great.
Yeah.
Tone down the cheese aspect with him, and he's just a little bit more brooding, and he's got some funny lines, but keeping it serious at the same time, and he's great in this. Same with Wonder Woman. I didn't see 84, but I didn't really like the original. The first half of that movie was good. The second half was terrible.
Agree.
Really obvious bad guy. Everything was so obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, she's fantastic.
She's a hero in this. She's just really a hero, really, really likable.
Yeah.
Aquaman, I felt.
She gets her Thor moment too at the end. Was that in the Whedon cut or no?
No, that was not in the Whedon cut.
None of that was.
No.
Yeah, she's totally badass in this.
Yeah.
Though, where she cuts off the dude's head, where all that shit. And she's fighting Superman like toe to toe with him.
Yeah.
She's pretty much God, right?
She's just compelling, and she's a hero, and her powers are super strong, and you see that. She doesn't just tell you, I'm the strongest. It's not a Mary Sue at all. Just does it, and does it convincingly through strong characterization, which is just exactly what you need. Is super amazing. One of the best things about this cut.
Yeah, you just reminded me. Well, I definitely my minus 0.5 is definitely there for that scene where Superman is first reanimated and they have the standoff in that weirdly unpopulated city.
Yeah.
Because you just reminded me with that headbutt moment, and it's just like, what is the fucking point of this? Yes, we get it. Superman is fucking invincible, and it's like 20 minutes of this fucking bullshit fight, and then they got to fly off to Smallville. And that stops the movie cold a couple times. It's just like, I hate that scene. At this point, it reminds me of old Snyder. It's just kind of like, look how strong this dude is. Isn't this cool? And that's really the only point. And once again,
I kind of love that. That headbutt, that was fucking incredible. Headbutt her right like 6 inches into the fucking pavement.
I know, but that's like the 17th time someone's been knocked into concrete.
Yeah, but I've always been a fan of that, where even Marvel, they don't nail it with how strong these people are and the consequences. And even in the transformery chaos of Man of Steel and stuff, That was what I liked the most. The speed and power of the hits is done by like this guy grew up reading comics and always imagined what this would actually be like. And it's like you're gonna punch him into fucking outer space and go through 8 buildings while he's at it, and it's gonna happen like at fucking the speed of sound and all that stuff.
Right.
Now, just like I said before, can you do that too often? Can it get annoying if you do it too much? Of course. And that's you know that.
Yeah, I get it, and that's what I like about like fighting Man of Steel. At least for a while, is really cool because it's like invincible people going at it in a city. And that was definitely one of the selling points of the movie. But the problem by the time you get to the headbutting with Wonder Woman and she goes to the ground is just like physics have to matter at some point, and that's a big criticism I have with the action of this movie. Is so many times like the physics just go out the window. It gets really CGI.
But isn't he respecting the physics by having her go into the pavement and stuff and having it go faster and harder?
If people this strong headbutt each other, somebody's head would come off.
Yeah.
but not if you have whatever degree of invincibility that you have.
No, but if you knock somebody in the head, like they're not going to land perfectly with the back of the. Anyways, I'm just saying. I'm just saying, like the physics just get kind of out of control, and that's where it just taking me out of the movie.
I'm right with you with it. It's just the whole idea, that whole section. Superman's back, but he's confused and kind of dark. It isn't like they're kind of like he doesn't know who he is and stuff, but it's just straight to him being the straight up bad guy. And this fight, it doesn't quite. I think like it's probably something he could have done to maybe set it up. A little bit more talking would have been good.
Yeah, I liked how they did it. I liked where Cyborg was like, he's scanning us, and it's like you start to see that he's like, he thinks that these
not quite himself. Yeah,
I love the way they set that up.
I don't know. It still felt a little bit just kind of inserty. But then again, you know,
I like the scene personally, and I think that whole scene was a fan service scene, really, just like the Avengers scene was on the helicarrier was when they all started beating each other up.
Yeah,
it was exactly the same thing. Like, and I especially loved the sequence with Superman and the Flash when Superman.
Oh yeah, so good.
Fighting off Cyborg and Wonder Woman, and then he just looks, he looks over in slow-mo, and Flash is like, he's got this look on his face like, what the fuck? He can.
Oh my God, he's no. Yeah. He's like, I'm scared. That was great, and that was a moment where it worked to have you're holding on Ezra Miller for so long, right? And you're realizing this, like, oh fuck, his eyes slowly turned to track him, and Miller knows he's fucked. He's like, oh, that was great. That was my favorite part of that whole fight. Gotta agree.
I'd agree with Raputznik. I think the scene was awkward. Like, I'll give him that.
Yeah, it felt a little awkward.
The concept of the scene, I think, was good, but the delivery was poor.
Right. Yeah.
That's where I'm at. There's something about that section of it. It feels a little bit kind of like insert and go, and there could have been something. Interaction with Lois that he ignores.
The fact
little bit of talking.
Yeah, the fact that Lois just runs around from behind the police car, and then suddenly Superman's like, "Oh, okay, I'm good now."
And she just shows up like she does in Batman v Superman twice at the end. Like, that's kind of one of the downsides. I feel like he replays the same scenes in his movies
sometimes, and she's there, so there could have been an interaction at first. Clark, and he looks over, but it's not him. And
I would have had Superman maybe even like go attempt to attack Lois, even maybe have Wonder Woman suddenly shoot out and her something.
That would have been good
initially.
That would have been good.
Yeah, so you're still kind of carrying the scene that you're creating there with Superman being all messed up and not sure.
Or to have him utter something, to say something.
Yeah,
why are you three fucking weirdos standing here and you look like you're going to attack me? So something to give just a little bit of motivation for Superman to start fighting like that. It just needed a little bit of something to quite ground it, be a little bit less of an insert. Yeah, that was one of my big hopes for it, because I remember that's exactly what it felt like in the Whedon cut. It was like, oh, except with the Whedon cut, you're like, oh, fuck, Superman's here, okay. Oh, God, because they're fighting, okay, right. It was just like, what is happening?
I guess another downside that has occurred to me is that in this cut, Superman's in the movie even less than the Whedon cut. So it's an interesting byproduct.
Kind of, yeah.
I would say minute for minute, he's in this movie. Like, he's barely in this movie at all. Which I think was a tremendous miscalculation of this entire Snyder storyline. Is just like, it sidelined Superman. It sidelined the character that started his trilogy. To me, that whole thing just seems pointless. Like, this movie is essentially a fetch quest to get Superman back. You could have, if he just didn't kill him suddenly, EVS, then you could have just done Justice League. You could do this whole story, and Superman could be there. But I realized he needs to be. He's the savior at the end.
Yeah.
But still, like,
I think if you do that though, you may as well just, Steppenwolf at that point may as well be just a bit character, and you've got to go straight to Darkseid. Instead, like in this one, Raputznik, like if you bring Superman back, by the third act or whatever in this movie, I mean, you don't even need the Justice League at that point. You just send him off to kill Steppenwolf, and your movie's over.
Yeah, but Superman's always, invulnerable.
That's always the problem.
He's always invulnerable, so you have to write a movie that works with that character,
Yeah.
But instead of writing him out.
You always got to break out the kryptonite or kill him, one of the two.
Yeah, it's got to be something.
Right. No, I agree, but at the same time, within the mythos of the DC universe at that stage, like this movie was an introduction to Cyborg and the Flash and even to some degree Aquaman. So that seemed to be the plan. I mean,
it was maybe smart to push Superman to the side, and Batman too. Batman too is quite to the side on this. He's much more to the side than the other characters.
Yeah.
And now it makes far more sense. There was obviously pressure to get to Justice League, and they didn't want to do all these individual movies first the way they should have. So this movie took its time with the new people. And
after watching this one, I'd say that overall, I think this was Cyborg's movie.
Yeah,
he's the heart of it. He's at the heart of it.
He's at the heart of the whole movie.
Yeah. When in Whedon's cut, I'm just like, would you just cut this guy?
Yeah.
Why is he's just annoying and get rid of him?
Well, exactly. Why was he in the
movie? It's funny because we talk about Batman, being sidelined, but I mean, what I like, this movie handled Batman much better than Whedon cut. He comes out looking like a nincompoop in the theatrical cut.
Like, grumpy and
he's grumpy. He's just like, oh, that hurt. He spends the entire movie being like, oh shit,
I'm old.
Yeah, well, you just realize the whole movie you're just thinking he's the mortal and the guys are invulnerable, whereas he has good utility in this movie. Like, he feels important. He doesn't feel weak compared to the other characters.
Yeah,
he's deeply Captain Batman. Like, he's
I would have liked to have seen him be a little weaker. He was pretty invulnerable. There's that, like, speaking of physics earlier, Raputznik, there's that scene where he's in the Batmobile and it's pretty much a convertible at this point because the shield is ripped off. Aquaman's riding on the side of it, and he rides that rock wall. Totally would have been.
I know. Would have been boulders flying.
He's crazy, so he can do it.
Yeah, and that's the physics. Is when he goes to that Nightcrawler vehicle.
Yeah.
So that's crawling up the thing when he first. So he's going to go jump into the Nightcrawler thing. He jumps 30 fucking feet perfectly into his seat. It's just like, come on, man. Is this Batman Forever? Like,
but I don't like the idea that Batman's invincible like everybody else. I want to see the humanity, the vulnerability in him. Isn't it enough that he puts his money where his mouth is and stands up to the plate? He doesn't have to be as good as Wonder Woman or as good as Superman or as far as he's got all the gadgets and everything. But eventually all that's going to fail and he's going to feel bruised at the end of the day. He's the one that's going to be sore. They're not. And they should really touch on that a little bit. I
think in a roundabout way they did though. Like, I mean, they kept Batman's fighting in this, especially in the Snyder cut, kind of to the parademons, and that was
they kept him back a bit.
Yeah, he was never
back a bit. So they had him
right in that
back. He was on the periphery, the biggest Hulk, going after the guns and things like that, staying high.
Right.
Yeah.
So they kind of smartly dealt with that. He still got to do badass stuff, but he didn't, like you said, he doesn't try to take on Steppenwolf.
I think they rode the line really well compared to the Snyder Cut, where he just seems like a buffoon. And, and that's really what that's what I give this movie massive credit for. Like, it really feels like even keeled. Like, they really gave characters, and the movie has time. It has got room to breathe, and I think Snyder did a good job. And like I said, like the stuff that I normally dislike about his movies was largely absent here.
Yeah. Are we ready for the Oates Notes?
No one's ready for the Oates Notes.
All right, so Oates Notes are go. So I'm just going to check off the notes and see what conversations it sparks. My first note was just, it's great to have so much info finally. Fuck, Jesus, everything made sense. Everything made sense. I mean, the Whedon's thing was just, it ended, and I'm just like, what the hell even happened? The only thing I know is that I didn't like it.
Yeah. I remember you and I watched that too. You and I sync watched that, and we're just like, what the fuck?
What the fuck? And, okay, bad guy is actually a person with a story. Cool. Flash is annoying. As I said before, Flash doesn't have to move to slow down time. I really don't get Flash in this.
But it still didn't make sense.
Yeah. A critique I had was that scene where Cyberboy hacks in and asks Diana to meet him. And one sentence, and he says, "Fuck the world," and tries to walk away. He called her there.
I know, yeah. He's very...
You contacted me.
Yeah, he's like, you know what I need to do right now? I need to say "fuck the world" to somebody.
Yeah. I mean,
that was his goal.
She had to take a taxi or something.
Yeah.
He can fly. Why didn't he go to her?
Yeah, that scene, that's what I thought was a Whedon scene. And I guess something that I just wonder, though, like, are we to understand this movie has no Whedon scenes in it? Because I think it does.
Sure.
I think some of the shit was...
Oh, I don't think
Whedon,
it does.
Right?
I don't think so.
Okay. I think it does.
But
anyway,
I don't know.
Because that scene I always thought was a Whedon thing, because it just, like, it looks cheap. It looks like it's shot on the Burbank back lot.
Huh. When you're doing the edit, we'll put up a title like, "No, there were no Whedon shots in this." Next note, only Zack Snyder can make a college football game look like the fucking apocalypse. Hey, is that like the most like horrific football game you've ever seen? I expected the cheerleaders to be like zombies with skulls and shit. It was like Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah, it was very dark.
Which is cool. It looked amazing.
Yeah,
it's just like, I just had to say that only Zack Snyder would take a college football game and make it like so brooding and ominous.
I thought that was one of the incredibly well done scene. Especially when he looks up at the stands and the empty seat, and you know exactly at that very moment.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was touching.
Like, they often in this movie, they go over the top with the emotional speeches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
At the end, but that moment had emotional resonance, up the yin yang, and they didn't have to say a thing.
It was show don't tell.
It was really well done.
Yeah, and then his mom forgets how to drive.
Right. Yes. Everyone forgets.
Is that like Snyder's thing? Okay, and then they forget how to drive. We have a big crash. Yeah. Is Aquaman more powerful than all Atlanteans? Is that covered? In his movie?
Yeah.
He obviously is, except Mara has got fucking cool powers. She was rad.
Yeah.
That was another cool female superhero fight moment. She was scary.
Yeah, she was good. Anybody notice her British accent?
Yeah, it was great. Why didn't they keep that?
Yeah.
But yeah, she was great, man. She was all powerful.
She was better in this, yeah.
Air explosions, and she was fucking Steppenwolf up. She's starting to draw the moisture and blood out of his eyes and shit. Like, I was like, oh, god damn, Mara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That was cool. I want to see her movie now. But fuck, the Aquaman shit just fucking confuses me, and especially maybe you guys caught something that I didn't, but it's still like this movie doesn't tie in chronologically with Aquaman, because he comes to that water and she's just like, hey, like she starts talking about the queen and shit like that. But in Aquaman, she meets him for the first time when he's driving with his dad. Outside that bar, they don't know each other. In this movie, she's just like, well, you're royalty, and he's just, you should go talk to the queen. He's like, fuck her, man, she abandoned me and all this stuff. But they kind of have that conversation again.
Yeah, it's like take your mother's trident, which he's been using through the entire movie, so he doesn't have his dad's trident, which he gets in the movie.
Yeah.
So it's chronological. Huh?
I don't remember Aquaman. It was so bad, but
me too. But
Aquaman, didn't he like conquer the bad guy, his stepbrother or whatever it was?
Yeah, and he had to go through and talk to that octopus and get his dad's trident from that statue.
But he didn't want to be king, so he didn't keep the trident, right?
No, he kept the trident.
But in this movie, the king is sitting there holding the trident, and Willem Dafoe is telling him to take his mother's spear.
Yeah.
Trident. So he hasn't got the king's trident yet. So it's kind of the timelines got smeared there, but who cares?
Yeah. When it's all just, I don't know. Those scenes I don't like either. He's just all like aggro at her, and I don't understand what's going on. And then sometimes they talk in air bubbles, and sometimes they don't. I fucking hate the Aquaman shit, man.
Yeah, there's a reason that it's kind of LOL. He's like the foreigner of So yeah, another moment that really bugged me was Cyborg's dad. He's getting tortured for the location of the box, and he's like, "I'll die before I tell you." And I'm like, "This guy's a civilian contractor."
Yeah.
For the military, I'll die before I tell you is like name, rank, and serial number only. Like, fucking scientist working on a box for the military. Like, I'll die before what?
Yeah, they kidnap people in the room again.
By the way, when he like shot the laser at the box and basically
gelatinized.
What was the point of that?
It made the box findable.
At the same time, though, we have to give him some mental credit to at least realize the severity of the situation he was in.
He knows how powerful the box is.
Right.
Well, he knows how powerful Steppenwolf is too.
Yeah, and he personally knows what that box can do. But that came after. The flashback came after for him making Cyborg out of the box and what it could do, kind of thing. So at that moment, for me, I was just like, all you knew about his civilian contractor for the military. It was like, I don't quite get his I'll die before I tell you stake and things. But then later you find out he used the cube and all that, so he knows what it can do, and he knows how obviously bad this guy is. So
yeah, well, I'd like to think that he realizes that at least there's the potential for the possibility of the fate of the whole planet in the balance in that moment. So
right, so he kind of gets it. So I'm fine with retracting that Oates note. Next one was the fucking Nightcrawler. And it's like, Alfred, send in the armored vehicle that's perfect for scaling vertical cylindrical layers and shooting flying foes now. But definitely let's not start with that. Right? Yeah. Just leave it somewhere where we risk it maybe not being able to make it when we need it. And I'll call you and tell you when we need that thing that works absolutely perfectly for this situation.
Just to interrupt for a second, one thing I noticed that I wasn't sure about, and maybe it was a massive gaffe in the movie. So the plane that they end up jumping on to fly to the end battle there, it crashes and gets totally fucking destroyed. And yet they jump on that exact same plane like half an hour later. Or is that a second plane?
It was a good while later in the movie, and Cyborg fixed it.
Oh, he did fix it?
Yeah, he said she wants to fly.
What?
They use it for the final assault.
Right, but then it gets destroyed. But then they all jump on it to leave once the battle's over again.
Oh, I don't remember the details on that. I remember Cyborg fixing it because it got destroyed earlier than that. I guess in the first cylindrical assault.
Yeah, or maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I thought it. Yeah, it seemed a little bit weird at the time when I saw it. I was like, I thought that ship was right.
Yeah, I don't remember the details on that. And then I thought this cut makes Cyborg way cooler. Like I said, like he's at his character is so good in this that he's like at the toy selling level that a guy that looks like that should be. I mean, like, fucking, you guys remember being like 12? Would have been like, I want Cyborg.
Yeah.
You know, although I felt they should have made him like just a little bit more human, just not, you know, it's like that much of his face.
Right.
Maybe just a little bit more somewhere would have. He's a little bit difficult to look at.
Oh, I thought you meant his character.
Well, maybe a bit of that. He's a little wooden sometimes, but he softened up a lot. He's a lot more interesting in this. He even had a joke.
Massive improvement.
Oh, incredible.
You know the thing that he said at one point that gave me the cringes was when they were like, we got to get dressed, and he's like, I'm already dressed.
I'm always yeah.
And all I could think of at that point was that's what somebody with no penis would say. You don't ever have to actually get dressed if you don't have, you know. So he's just a cyborg, total robot.
Yeah.
And he never has to put on pants.
In the cut I saw, he said, I'm all dressed, and he handed a bag of chips.
I'm Canadian. The other thing I never got clear, so hopefully somebody can clear me on this. Darkseid didn't know where he was when he lost the battle on Earth.
Didn't know where he was?
Yeah, because Steppenwolf figures out that Earth is where he lost the battle on 5,000 years ago, and then tells Darkseid. Well, why did Darkseid forget where he was?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea.
Well, there was a bunch of parts tied to that didn't make any sense. Like even the whole boxes, you know, waking up because Superman was dead. Well, Superman's only been on Earth for X amount of years. Like,
for years.
And yet the boxes have been there for, like you just said, 5,000 years. So why didn't they wake up long before Superman even showed up?
So then,
you know.
Yeah, yeah, it's a superhero movie.
Thing seemed a bit silly to me, but they made it work. But it was, if you really think about it, it doesn't make any sense. Does the planet they go to have boxes? The guys conquered 100,000 planets. Does every planet have boxes?
Obviously not. So that makes Earth like the most interesting planet in the universe. And then, so why does he forget where it was?
But not only does Earth have boxes, but it's got that super death equation.
The anti-life equation, which never even remotely gets explained.
Yeah.
No.
I guess that would have been the next one.
Yeah, it's flimsy, but it goes a long way to making the movie better compared to the non-explanations for
all the above. The resurrection of Superman. Do you always need a guy running at the speed of light to activate the mother box for this? I didn't quite follow that.
No.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shady physics right there. Like.
Yeah.
Like that's another one of those sections of just like slow motion. And just, you know, slow motion to slowly touch, like it's so slow, and you're just like, fuck, man.
I know.
There's a couple times where it's like, maybe 200 frames a second instead of 500 frames a second.
We're just find a quicker way to get to this point. We know Superman's coming back. Let's just make this happen.
So you probably eliminate an hour out of that runtime if you just eliminated all the slow motion.
Exactly.
So on the big assault, why does Bruce take all that time? It's big, like a attack on the shield, fly in, crash, and the others are all standing there what looks like a kilometer or two away on a hill, watching and going like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Stick to the plan." And then Wonder Woman's like, "Okay, let's go." And they're like, they're not all the Flash. They're easily like several minutes away at best speed. Well, I guess they can all jump pretty good, but you know, like it's just that scene I thought was a little awkward, being nitpicky. Yeah. It's a little strange. And Aquaman, like, fuck, can the guy fly or what?
He could jump.
But then he goes up with parademons and just slashes at him and fights them. Holding for like a minute. Like, what is that guy's powers? Aquaman needs work.
Yeah, so I think one of my single most hated moments from the cinematic release, and it's in here too. So that whole flying, he's flying, he gets thrown once by Cyborg, but mostly he's flying or extended jumping or
anime style.
He's just so fucking powerful. And then he takes one of the guys, rides him like a goddamn surfboard, and then plows through fucking 12 stories of a brick building, comes out, and he's just like,
Right?
like he's the most powerful person there. Like, why do they need Superman? That's the big problem I have with that. Is it's like you go through all this shit, establish that Superman is the most powerful motherfucker ever. Cool. And this guy can fucking plow through a concrete building riding a fucking parademon like a surfboard.
It seemed to actually do his hair for him. Like it. Yeah. That's how he does his hair in the morning.
Yeah, it's like Rey, in the Star Wars sequels. Like, she doesn't need training. She's the greatest fucking Jedi that's ever lived.
Yeah. Aquaman rides on that Mary Sue train.
They overjuiced him in that sequence. Everybody's on fucking steroids, and it drives me.
Was that sequence in the Snyder Cut though?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah,
was it?
That is.
Yeah, it could have been a little bit smaller and still worked. And then my second last one was the third time that I thought Diana was literally singing, and then when the one fucking moron parademon minion manages to hole in one the Flash while he's running at light speed.
Yeah.
What?
It's a big thing. Like, the parademon notices the light, which is just a perfect circle because he's moving so quickly.
Right.
It just gets up on the gun and fires a shot. It's like 2 fucking miles and hits fucking Barry Allen hole in one.
I was probably checking.
He's trying to run at light speed.
Yeah, that was pretty weak.
That was stupid. just to wound him to make it his last little hero's journey.
I'm not understanding what your problem is with that he would have missed.
Yes.
Well, why? Because
it'd be
if he's running at light speed in a circle, he's everywhere at once. It doesn't matter where the guy shoots; it's going to hit him.
I don't know.
Yeah, there is that argument.
I don't know.
It is.
No.
It should have tore him in half, actually.
Well, I mean, the act of doing it should tear him in half.
Right.
The act of doing it should make him infinitely massive. We can't get too deep into this.
Well, yeah. I mean,
I'm kind of just keeping him go so fast, and hitting things from 2 miles away is super duper hard to do.
Right.
At walking speed, if the guy was walking, it would be a hard shot.
Yeah.
The hell of a shot for a minion. I'd be asking for a raise if I was that guy.
I'm just saying anybody could have made the shot, because no matter where you hit, that he's going to be there because he's going at the speed of light.
I think also another parademon that deserves a raise is the guy that managed to hang out in Cyborg's apartment with his dad there and not be heard or seen at all until he goes like he just shows up. When he gets kidnapped, he's just like I'm here. He's like 2 feet away from Joe Morton. It's like, what the
I don't remember that being weird.
It's weird. It's a classic. It's the classic movie thing where you don't hear somebody walking in.
Sure, but it's also like, oh, somebody's here. Let's be quiet and see who it is.
Okay, but also
they have the box.
But how about in the rooftop scene with Commissioner Gordon? Another scene I fucking hate. That man jumps down and they're having their growly conversation together, and then Cyborg just starts talking. He just materializes, like nobody hears him. They're like, oh look, it's Cyborg. Like he's away to the right, and nobody can fucking hear him.
I hate this disappearance, but at least Snyder took a jab at that. He left Flash there after Batman and Wonder Woman disappeared, so he took kind of a knowing jab at himself for that.
Yeah, that was a funny
a little bit of that. You're like, fuck him.
And he left the fastest guy there, which was great.
I just don't like that rooftop scene. It's really weird. Like Commissioner Gordon, like he's like really grumpy, and then like there's this big music build up, and Batman's on a gargoyle up above. And then he jumps down with some of the shittiest CGI in the entire movie. Jumps down, And then this he and Gordon are just growling at each other. Gordon's just like, rah, rah, rah. He's like, how many of you are there? And he's just like, not enough. It's like, are these guys pissed off at each other? Like, what the fuck is happening?
They're
I just don't like
grumpy white men.
You doing the voice reminds me of the fact that, so Bruce Wayne, Batman, talks to all the superheroes in his complete normal voice the whole way until the final battle. Then he's got to use the voice again. It's like,
yeah.
Nobody knew it was there.
Thank you for reminding me. Bruce Wayne giving up his secret identity freely in this movie is really fucking weird.
I liked it because he's giving it to all the people who are like superheroes too, right? I liked how he announced himself to the Flash by shooting the.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I didn't mind that. I just didn't understand why he used the voice at that point at the end after.
Yeah. He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. But he's doing the Batman action. It's kind of a movie thing. I can see it. He has a secret identity, and there's no point because he just goes around as himself. Yeah. Risking his secret identity. Kind of like everybody knows and everybody's about to know, thanks to the epilogue. Yeah, and they even have a scene where Flash is just like, Mr. Wayne. And he's like, oh, whoops. He's like, whoops, I said your secret identity with Wonder Woman there. And I'm just like, bitch, he's just walking around. But I don't mind it within the Justice League. How about so when he goes to talk to Aquaman, he has a conversation in front of fucking 50 villagers with like that Game of Thrones medieval dude in the bar, and there's like 50 to 100 people around. Like, I'm Bruce Wayne, I'm Batman. He calls him he's blown it for sure, although I don't think they have good internet up there. You'd be surprised these days.
The scene right after that where Aquaman goes into the water and he takes his sweater off and so you can see his chest and his abs and all that.
Yeah.
And he goes into the water and then the girl smells his sweater.
They sing the song. Sing the song to the fish.
But then later on, when he saves the fisherman who didn't respect the weather, right? He brings him into the pub and gets some whiskey and throws the bottle away and is going back into the water again. He's wearing a tank top at this point, and he takes it off and throws it aside to dive into the water. Where's he getting all these shirts? Where did he get that shirt? Why was he wearing it when he saved the guy, and why did he take it off when he's going back in the water? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you got abs to show it.
I mean, I know it's all about the abs, all about the muscles, all that stuff, and that's great. I want to see them too,
But you just want continuity.
But yeah, I want some continuity.
You want shirt continuity is demanded.
Maybe put the shirt, stuff it in his pocket or something. It would make sense.
So all this takes nicely into my final point, which is Ben Affleck is the best Batman.
Nice.
Fucking love him in this. Love him in this.
I agree.
The whole disaster that Warner created, they lost like the best Batman they could have had. He's the most compelling, the best acted. He's just really compelling. Really like drawn into him and want to know more about him. And fuck, man, the real lost opportunity now.
More than Bale, you think?
Yeah, more than Bale.
Wow.
I would say, for me, I love him as Bruce Wayne. He could be the best. I think for me, he's probably the best Bruce Wayne. Something about him in the costume bugs me a bit. And I think that might be costume design, maybe more than.
It looked like they didn't cut it quite right. He looks a little bit like my neck, like a little bit in some scenes.
Yeah.
Not quite good. I love the glass matte hood into the cowl and the cape. Looked really cool. A little lower tech than the Nolan ones, and I thought that looked cool. It was a little bit more Detective Comics.
Yeah, but Bale. Yeah, I'm there.
Oh yeah, and the stories are so good.
I'm there with Tristan.
Yeah. But I wanted to see. At the very least, I wanted to see him carry on and do more. It's a real loss, and now we're gonna have fucking what's his name, Twilight So I would give it 8.5.
What? Cool.
Thought it was an excellent, excellent movie. If that had dropped, I would just have my nitpicks, my list of nitpicks about it. And also, it wouldn't have dropped at 4 hours with 8 epilogues, right? So it would have been cut down a bit.
Yeah.
But if this story had dropped, it just would have been a really great film that I would have had nitpicks with, and I would have felt interested in what they were going to do with the DCEU, as opposed to, after Batman versus Superman into Whedon's Justice League, I was just like, fuck the DCEU, man. Those guys are hopeless. I don't give a fuck what they do anymore. To this, I was like, it had the crafting that goes into the Marvel universe to make what was coming next much more interesting.
Yeah, if this was the movie that was released in 2016, then it would have been like, okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
would have been a good movie that there's nitpicks about.
But I think it's got to be said, like it's this. I think this was made by a different director than he would have been in 2016. Like this movie does benefit from hindsight, and I think a more mature director.
Yeah, and being 4 hours long helps, so he's got infinite time to do whatever he wants, which it still would have had to have been cut to be released.
He does, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right.
If you took BVS era Snyder and he had a carte blanche to make a 4 hour movie, it would have been a bit different. I mean, in this movie, like they had the scene when they're driving off from the Flash's lair there, and there was a billboard for the suicide prevention organization.
Right.
Yes. Like I was just like, cool, man. Like this is.
Well,
so,
yeah.
This
guy,
is so much.
He went through like 3 life-altering things, like so.
Yeah.
He's got to be a different man.
Yeah, the movie just felt more human to me than anything I think he's done.
That being said, there's only a few minutes of brand new footage. Most of the budget is spent on the work needed to assemble the unfinished, unaffected film back into a cut.
Cool,
there's not much new, so yes, he's a new director with a new outlook, but that shit is what was shot. There's not much that's reshoots.
Going forward, does this lend any credence to maybe giving direct more separation from the studios and carte blanche to make the movie they want?
Well, I bloody well hope so.
I don't know.
The movie theater going experience is over. I mean, streaming.
Yeah, it's dead. This opens the success of this opens the window to 4 hour action movies. It opens the window to people going and reclaiming failed cuts, which is a constant recurring problem in Hollywood, mostly due to that need to get that opening weekend and get it in at 90 minutes or 120 minutes max. Now this blows that whole narrative apart, and I think it's great. I think it's fucking wonderful. You can at least, as a director, you can now sit at the table and go, no, it's my cut, and if you fuck with it, then you can start right off the negotiations with like, I have final cut, and here's what happens if not. Look at what Zack Snyder did.
Well, maybe they're going to double dip, though. Maybe the producers are still going to have the power and say, no, we're putting out the hour and a half cut, and then after it dips again, the popularity, then they're like, okay, now director, now you get your director's cut, and we're
sure, yeah. You can do shameless money grabs. You can do, you can release, you can plan that out from the start.
That's risky, though, to do that.
If the movie fails in the first place. Then you're
exactly right.
Yeah, but by the same degree, you could also wound up with a bunch of like, you can have the Lucas thing that's going back to the well and changing your movie and claiming it's.
Well, that's always scary. But the playing field until and unless theaters come back the way that they were, which they won't. Then this is moot. This is just a release on one of the streaming channels. So there is no failure. There's just keeping subscribers. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
The last thought on that for me, I guess, would be, so I mean, does Zack come back to DCEU now and continue his vision? Like, does it think they bring him back?
There's no word on that, and the only word from him that I've ever seen is that he wants to move on. The chapter kind of closed.
Right.
Yeah. So this is kind of closure for him as far as he's signaling. But whenever somebody wants to be president, you ask them if they're going to run for president. They always say no. That's the first thing you say is no. I'm far too humble.
And if the 70 million spent, and this movie was pretty much like the advertising's mostly organic online, right? If the 70 million turns into like X amount more subscribers that they can show to yeah, maybe they'll bring him back for something.
And he put all of his little angles in the epilogue. So I mean,
yeah, the epilogue is strongly it's setting up. He wants to do something.
It was his job. His job was to set up the future. So he put all of the strains in there.
Yeah.
So the book is wide open and the demand is there. It's just a question of whether he'd want to do it. I'm sure Warner is just like, hey, maybe we should do this again.
Thanks for joining us for our review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. What did you think of the Snyder Cut? Should there be a Zack Snyder Justice League 2? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time for more genre film discussions.